Each year, environmental water is delivered to wetlands and rivers across the state to improve their health, help them cope with regulation, build resilience for dry years and recover from drought. However, environmental water is not just about plants, waterbirds, fish, water bugs, turtles, frogs and platypus. By improving the health of rivers, wetlands and floodplains, environmental watering programs across Victoria also provide benefits to our communities. Environmental water increases opportunities for recreational activities such as fishing, boating and bushwalking. It sustains healthy country for Indigenous communities that have a connection to our rivers, wetlands and floodplains, and it improves water quality, which has an economic benefit to farmers. For these reasons, our communities are just as invested in environmental water as we are. I spoke with some locals in the North Central Catchment Management Authority region who love where they live, are involved in caring for the land and understand the importance of environmental watering to their homes, the land and their futures.
My name is Keith Barber and I've been involved with this particular crop for a bit over 50 years. Yes, it was certainly wetter times than what they are now. This swamp over there was mostly full. To be quite honest, the first I came here, there was water across the road and there was so much water it washed into the motor and I was stopped and I had to walk the last 3 kilometres. When we first took over here, we used to mainly have stock, but in latter years, growing grain has been more profitable than stock, than sheep. So at the moment we mostly grow canola, barley and wheat on this particular property.
I'm Helen Barber and I'm Keith's wife, and I was born here and have grown up here at this property. My father bought it probably 75 years ago. Because of the swamp, our house overlooked the swamp. All my childhood it was almost full all the time. So there was plentiful bird life which we were very interested in. Well, it's just exciting for me and very important to the area, I think, but very exciting that the North Central CMA saw fit to put environmental water in it and compensate in the dry years a little bit for the bit that's with a small amount of water, and they overtop it and goes into the reedy and grassy areas. And we've seen ducks breeding here when we come, and herons, and today, for instance, there was a hawk swooping on the water as we sat quietly, and swallows getting the insects off the top, and it's a windy day which isn't so good for birds, and the ducks flew off when they saw us, so I hope they're not too frightened of the people coming to look, but we try to protect them very much.
When there was only a dam here at one particular stage, we actually put water in it ourselves and we were feeding sheep here. Brolgers were competing with the actual sheep to get grain. So, and that was the main reason we fenced it off, because we wanted to keep an area where brolgers could exist.
From the environmental water side of it, it's very important that the management of this water is looked after, and on the Gunbarra Island quite a lot of people have jumped up and down about using the water on it and why they're flooding it every year, etc, etc. They don't realise that what CMA are doing now is actually training themselves for what to do in the future. You have great trouble convincing them that it's all fluid and it's not going to happen exactly the same every year, it's going to get changed. And with Herd Swamp and Johnson Swamp, it's been hit and miss over the years. Like when they were forced to put the banks in, they actually put pumps in to pump the water onto it. Then when the pumps clapped out, they set out to get water out of the channels, which is very easy. That was environmental water to a degree, but now it's done with science. And that's the story of environmental water, basically. But if you can get it right and mix the fish in it, which the CMA are doing now, they're doing exactly what I would have thought should happen.
I'm Tuesday Browell and I live on the Richardson's Lagoon at Trumbury, which is a old river meander right next to the Murray River. And I've lived here around about 20 years now, so I've seen quite a lot of changes, been through a drought and a flood.
So when I first moved here, it was like the wild west, I was thinking. So there was a lot of people that used to come out camping and doing all sorts of things. So they'd come onto the property, and off the property there'd be gun shooters, bardy grubbers. It was pretty wild when I first came out here. But I then started to own the land, put some fencing up and say this is this is worth preserving. And then since then I've just started to care for the country, I guess. The other part about it was that it turned out to be an Aboriginal burial ground, so we had some archaeological digs here and some surveys checking that out, which proved to be so. It was in the past a great meeting ground for different clans of Aboriginal groups to come and gather and trade. So I've really tried to honour and respect that and look after the human remains, the spirits of the elders that are here as well. It's an amazing botanical delight here. I'm a massage therapist, aromatherapist, and so that's when I went and I found here. It was hard to find because there were no tracks, so I actually got the boat and sailed, rowed in to find it. So we now have something like 15 of the last 80 to 90 remaining sandalwoods in Victoria, which is pretty rare. We've got some great stands of Calitrix tetragona, some fantastic Murray pines. The sandhills, there's only 5 pre-contact sandhills left on the Murray River on the Victorian side. This is one of them. So I've got a fair job to preserve this for futures.
We began to get involved with the environment and issues surrounding the environment because we'd been in drought here for so many years and we hadn't realised, and we could just see the land falling away and the river dropping, and pretty heartbreaking. So we joined the Echuca Land Care Group, which is a suburban sort of town group, and we were there and happy there for some years, but really felt that we needed to be involved in a group that was more farming inspired and try to get in with local farmers and that sort of thing. So yes, set up the Strathallan Family Land Care Group. There's just a couple of families we decided it'd be a good idea, and away we went from there. The focus of the formation of the Land Care Group was the river, because we came down to the river every day. We watched it rise and fall as rivers do. We saw carp in the river. We saw that there weren't many fish at that time because of the carp. We fell in love with the vegetation and the great big old trees next to it. I read in one of the local papers about a water watch group, and I said to my husband, John, hey, this sounds pretty interesting, looking something for him to do. Yeah, we got involved with that. We rang up and we got a visit. We found a spot down by the river, which is not far from where I'm sitting now. So the saga began. John comes down once a month and takes a sample. He loves it. It's got him involved at that level. It meant that we met a whole lot of new people through Water Watch. That's the most interesting thing when you form a group. You meet new people, and it's wonderful when you meet new people who are thinking along the same lines as you, got the same sort of interests.
So I'm not a normal primary producing farm, yet it is a farm and it is a primary producer, but what I produce is trees and plants and essential oils. So on the property I gather nature's wonderful plants such as the red gums or the old man weed, the Centipede Cunninghamii, or the Calitrix, the old fringe myrtle. And then I put that through a distillation unit that I brought. It's a beautiful hand-beaten copper unit from Portugal. So I also harvest the oranges and lemons. I make lots of marmalade and I sell orange juice, marmalade, lemon juice.
The revival of the wetlands by just adding water. The bird life part of it, I think, is probably one of the really big things, because the birds breed out there. Critical thing with environmental water is what North Central Catchment Management are doing. They're actually talking to people who are involved and have been in the bush for years. The environmental water side of it is really getting to be very good. And if the management keeps up like it is, and the results keep coming like they are, I see this in another 10 years' time to be a showcase of what people in other places should be doing.
We got an opportunity to go and see some squirrel gliders up close. We'd been making boxes, but we'd never seen one. And so that started another project within our group where we set up some cages and got a couple of gliders in. 1 breeding pair and 3 females. So we're on the lookout for some male squirrel gliders.
And it's amazing how this area in the northern Victoria can respond. Perhaps when there's more water available, there'll be more sites being able to be connected to environmental water.
I think about 12 months ago we were absolutely delighted because Amy came here one day, Amy who's in charge of the environmental water, and she gets out here a lot to have a look too, and lo and behold a brolga had returned. And I understand they are quite territorial and remember where they've been, and this brolga was looking around, and we had seen some in the area at the similar time, so they haven't forgotten the area, and we would just love it to think that they would come back here.
The importance of environmental water from our point of view in the Campaspe River at this point, it's vital. The river is a biolink, a really, really important biolink. Environmental water is so important.
Catchment management is huge. Just even take one and it's just massive. And it's interesting now they're going into education as well, and I think that's really good because it's helping people on the land, not only farmers but land managers, to get a say but to also learn new ideas as well. And now you understand the process of how and where that water comes from, how it's monitored, how it's put into those particular areas and for what reasons. So I think catchment management's great.